Thanks for having us. I have the same chair at my house.
You have a pink chair?
Yeah, pink chair. Made of
It's
wood.
like a love seat. More like a love seat.
So we can talk about almost anything because at CBS Interactive, you guys cover everything. I mean, we can talk sports, we can talk Star Trek, we can talk Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, we're not just the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, right. So what do you? What's exciting? What's interesting right now?
Well, for people who don't know, CBS Interactive is the #7 overall property in the U.S. It's like top 10 globally. And we cover CBS.com, CBS Sports, CBS News. But then we also own CNET in the tech space, #1 publication in online in digital publishing and tech. GameSpot in video games, TV Guide, Metacritic, Download.com, things in kind of every category. So we're taking CBS, the #1 television network, into the digital future, but then we're also, a massive publisher online as well.
Yeah, so everyone just heard a very smart talk about technology distribution, but you are a content master.
Right.
So whether we watch stuff on the internet, our phones, and TVs, you want to watch really good stuff. So how does that kind of drive what you guys are doing now?
Well, actually, I feel like the biggest trend, and it's not usually captured yet because it's not really measured. So I don't think people are totally aware that probably the biggest trend in online video is actually OTT, or over the top. So these boxes like Roku or Apple TV. So whether you're Netflix or you're CBS, the unique users are spread out across mobile or desktop, or OTT devices, but the majority of usage is coming from these boxes. And so that's true of Netflix. It's over half of their total volume is coming from there. And for us, not only are we seeing that, and like we just launched on the new Apple TV this week with our CBS app, but we're also seeing that, for things like CBSN, which is our 24-hour digital news network, which we actually announced a year ago right here on this stage, that's twice as much volume per person if they're watching through those boxes. So it's not, so it really is showing that at the end of the day, it's best screen available for the users. So they may be able to get it on the mobile device, but if they can, leaning back and still watching on the big screen, if it's available there, is by far the biggest way to consume content.
Now, how does that
video content?
Yeah, no. How does that drive your strategy? Like, how does that change the business when Roku and Apple TV are so vital for distribution now? Does it change anything?
First of all, I don't think we realized that 2 years ago. I think launching all these new apps, launching these new services, and then putting it out there, we were surprised, and we saw how much usage was coming through there. It also has made it so that we can relax a bit on the transition to digital, right? Because we make as much money through through advertising through those channels as we do on live television, and the experience is the same. And so it's actually been it made us more comfortable with making the transition to digital.
And you guys are doing your first digital premium content with Star Trek coming back.
That's right. We announced on Monday this week. We didn't give too many details about it, but that coming in 2017, it will be the first new Star Trek series since 2005.
Okay.
So there's 5 historically. We have them all on CBS.com if you go there today, all the old ones. But we're making a new one with the executive producer of the new Star Trek movies, the ones that J.J. Abrams has directed. So that producer is attached, and we'll be launching that in 2017.
And so why direct to digital and why Star Trek? Like, why'd you choose that to be the vehicle?
Well, Star Trek, just obviously, it crosses over so well with that digital audience. But the other thing that's interesting is we're actually launching it. The first episode will be on live television, and then from then on, it will be digital only. But then it's also only going to be available to subscribers to our premium service, so CBS All Access, which is the $5.99 a month, premium. It's similar to like Hulu Plus or Netflix. So on CBS.com, you can get the 5 trailing episodes of any show, but if you want every show ever, and you want to be able to watch it on any device, day after air, that's the $5.99 a month, and that's where this will launch. Which is similar to, if you look at anything from Hulu Plus to YouTube Red, which is the YouTube subscription product that they just launched, that's where the premium shows are going. If you want to watch PewDiePie, the normal series, it's on YouTube free. If you want the extended series, that's going to be on YouTube Red.
So it's kind of like a Netflix idea of like how, House of Cards is kind of a big carrot to get people to, subscribe to Netflix.
And I think what it shows is that people are always wondering what the definition of premium is, and I think one way of defining it is people will pay a lot to advertise there.
Yeah.
Another way is huge number of minutes consumed, right? So a lot of the major publishers online right now are only being watched or seen 15 seconds a day, versus the 5 hours that people watch television or 3 hours that they watch an NFL game. But if you are truly premium, then you also have a chance to get people you can monetize those people in other ways, and subscription is a huge one, right? So, that's that platform, or, Big Brother, that series, the reality series. We actually have historically had a $4.99 a month version of that show online where you could watch 24 hours a day what's happening in the room. But I also think things like fantasy football are premium, right? There are ways of extracting value from your premium content.
So if Star Trek is a massive hit, which I'm sure it will be, would there ever be would they ever put it on normal TV just because we have this golden goose? Why keep it in this little other box opposed to filling out the main
I don't know.
CBS?
I mean, I can't. We're kind of just starting to talk about it, so who knows? But there's also positioning for a lot of these. People will say that there's not a brand to a network anymore; it's just the shows. But I think CBS proves there really is a brand of the type of content that we have. And sometimes these shows will go on, the CW instead, which we own half of. Like Jane the Virgin was developed, but then it was for the CW, or Showtime, for certain shows that might be, more extreme. They wouldn't be on CBS. So I think the digital-only platform will have its own place in that landscape.
And since we're in the middle of the NFL football season, it's all over the place. It's even coming to London a couple mornings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole the valuations are going so high because sports is the one thing that people watch live still on TV. And we were talking backstage. There's the massive fantasy audience and industry. There's the betting industry, which is huge, but no one talks about. How does that drive it? Because CBS is like a powerhouse in everything from media for that, but also the fantasy leagues and daily stuff. How is that changing?
Well, I think so. First of all, live events are extremely important. So it's not just that; it's the Country Music Awards, it's the Grammys. So I think in this world where everything is VOD, or and you can watch it over time, which, by the way, I think is an important way to measure. How many people are watching television? It's not just day after anymore. You really have to measure it nowadays over the course of a month, because they'll watch it on their DVR, they'll watch it on video on demand, they'll watch it online, they'll watch it on these boxes, which aren't even captured in the ratings at this point. So I think that overall fit, people really need to understand the different ways that people are watching when they measure how much viewership is actually happening now. That's going to be even more, going forward. But yeah, I mean, I think that's how the NFL fits in. And then I think fantasy sports, where CBS, we have one of the big three platforms along with ESPN and Yahoo. It's just an incredible source of engagement. It's millions of people every week. It's it's essentially billions of minutes spent, and
it's crazy.
Certainly billions of dollars. In fact, the total amount of money made on fantasy football alone is bigger than the amount of revenue the NFL itself does. So again, I think it's an example of what happens when you have a premium content source.
You go to a sports bar on Sunday in America, every dude now is just on their phones, checking their scores.
That's right.
They probably check their phone 50 times a day when that's happening.
Well, the average is 50 times a month, just measured, right?
Yeah.
So who knows whether that's, that's an average of people checking it 1,000 times a month, but you're right.
Refresh.
Exactly. I mean, our fantasy sports app is over 50 times a month.
I mean, that kind of engagement is something like a media company, a sports company would kill for. I mean, it's on every screen.
Yeah.
And how important is that for you guys?
Yeah, I just don't think all content is created equal. And one of the things that's happened in today's digital landscape is everybody's a publisher. Everybody is chasing traffic. It's very easy to have large user numbers, but the true engagement is really saved for the premium brands. And by the way, that's not just unique users. That happens if you have a Snapchat Discover channel, happens on YouTube, it happens now on Facebook, where we have instant articles, or it's just announced today that we're going to be part of Facebook Notify, which is like one of their versions of a news product. But so it can happen anywhere. But so I think if you have that brand, it can happen anywhere.
And how about, speaking of sports, the kind of rise of the video games? Like people are saying in a couple of years, video, like League of Legends or whatever is going to be the fourth biggest, most watched sport in America, ahead of hockey, esports. Like, what do you see at esports? Are you guys getting involved?
Funny, I was actually we've been involved since the beginning because we actually did Twitch's ad sales for their first 18 months.
Wow. Yeah.
So my sales team did theirs, and we helped kind of introduce them to the advertising community. But so we've been believers in esports for a long time. We own GameSpot, which is the biggest video game publishing network online. Kind of competes with IGN for people who know IGN. And so we're believers in it. I mean, I think I was on this panel at the Super Bowl location last week. So we're going to have the Super Bowl 50 on CBS this year. We'll stream it online as well.
Huge.
And so they had a digital marketing summit. We actually had former Super Bowl MVPs on stage with us, and they were debating whether esports players were athletes. And literally, they were arguing about whether their thumbs make them athletic.
What was the final consensus?
It was mixed.
Yeah.
My point at the end was it doesn't matter because people are just watching a crap ton of video around. I mean, Twitch is a huge amount of video with people watching people play games, and it's legitimate, absolutely. I mean, they're filling stadiums the same way World Wrestling is filling stadiums.
And this fall, you launched Stephen Colbert.
Right.
Who brought with him a massive online audience, really savvy social media, replacing David Letterman, who did really none of that, correct?
Right.
What does Colbert as kind of a franchise, a personality, mean for Interactive and what you guys do?
No, it was huge for us. So David Letterman was fantastic, but did not really participate online, not on Twitter, and didn't really produce online video, whereas Stephen Colbert is full on with online videos. So his debut episode on September 8th was actually the most watched full episode we've ever had online across any of our shows, Big Bang Theory and NCIS, any of these. Interestingly, last week we had the number 2, which was the debut of Supergirl. But Colbert actually had more traffic total than Jimmy Fallon in September. But either way, it's just being part of that landscape. I think the thing that's different about Colbert is his full episodes are watched, whereas Fallon and Kimmel are more about the clips.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because Colbert covers politics and he has CEOs on, and it's not as much of a skit-based program. But it's been huge for us.
Does he have like a social media team that kind of, obviously handles all that stuff, but also when he's shooting, do they have other people shooting for shooting for?
That's
the other
how we
screens?
work with them. So across CBS, my team has members on the showrunners teams for almost every show at this point, because it's not just about creating digital assets, it's also, we have 300 million fans. And again, this is just for CBS, right? GameSpot has 100 million, CNET has 100 million, but in the CBS world, it's 300 million. And so, we're having to distribute socially and do all that. So yeah, Colbert, the same thing. And actually, over the course of the summer, starting in June, leading up to the launch, we did different things like, he had viral videos like shaving off his beard and things like that. And then the week leading up to his launch, we did a thing with Snapchat when they had the Snapchat channel, which is now gone. But we did a different video every day of Colbert on Snapchat leading up to the launch.
That drove traffic to the show, kept his
kind of. It's just good for priming the pump for his launch with a new audience.
So I'm going to have you take out your crystal ball for a moment. If we're sitting here at Web Summit 2020, in 5 years from now, what are we talking about? What do you see happening?
Yeah, I mean, two things. I think digital is growing, and especially as I said earlier, on OTT boxes, and I think that's just going to become more and more how people watch digitally. But I also think I think people think that traditional linear television is going away faster than it will. I mean, this is going to happen over decades, not months, right? And it's really more of a transition to multi-platform, and my boss, Les Moonves, has always said he doesn't care where you watch as long as we can measure it, right? And as long as people watch. And so I think the talent powerhouses, they're the major broadcast networks and the major cable networks are going to still have a very big part to play because they're truly making premium content, which at the end of the day is what will win.
So you don't care when or where you watch it. It just as long as
it's measured, right? If it's measured, then we are able to sell it to advertisers. If we're successful in those platforms, we can drive people to subscription products, and we're happy to live on different platforms and have different use cases, for each one.
It's very cool. And real quick, what will our TVs look like in 5 years? Same old or
bigger?
Is it gonna be bigger, cheaper, and more connected?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny if you remember Remember like the Saturday Night Live where they made fun of Steve Jobs and going down to the little tiny phone?
Yeah, yeah.
And now the phone's this big again. It's
Yeah.
like Wall Street. It's like as big as your shoe again.
Yeah, same. The headphones too went from tiny to like now giant.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think the trend is always for the big screen to a bigger screen as much as people can have it. So, but they're going to watch, like they'll watch desktop, they'll watch mobile, they'll watch tablet, and they'll watch on the big screen at their house. Just going to be connected to the internet more and more.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was great. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right,
Thank you,
Steve.
guys.
Thanks.